There are a number of reasons why we believe, and it's not just me and my organization, but we have 40 local organizations, international organizations, and 9 individual academics, that Malta should not legalize prostitution because, apart from it being exploitative towards women, in the countries where prostitution was legalized, including Germany and Holland, it showed very clearly that it was having great harmful effects on the women. And here I would say women because for the majority it is women that are to be found in prostitution, but also that this had a greater impact on human trafficking, and they could see trends of high increase in human trafficking. But first of all, I don't know what is actually being proposed in these reforms. I mean, what we have read is that we're talking about decriminalization. And here I have to highlight that Malta prostitution is not illegal. It is the loitering and soliciting that is illegal, that is the criminal. So I'm assuming that when you talk about decriminalization, we're talking about decriminalization of the loitering and soliciting. From what we can also gather from what we read is that the pimping and the brothels will continue to remain illegal. So it is not clear at all what is actually being proposed in these reforms. However, if we are to assume that we're talking about the criminalization of the soliciting and the loitering, we are saying, listen, that is going to literally put on a plate for pimps and traffickers to continue to further exploit, because now that is not going to be criminal activity anymore. We already are aware that when we come to human trafficking, that the trends show that the trafficking has increased in recent years. And therefore, we are concerned that, with what is being proposed, we're going to, Malta is going to become the next tourist country. We've already seen this in the past when we had the opening up of the strip clubs, where Malta was being advertised as a bachelor haven, to come in for your bachelor party. So, this with again, what we are seeing is kind of opening up to say, hey, let's become the next tourist sex hub. Um, so it is not clear at all. Are we talking about legalization? Are we talking about decriminalization? We're talking about decriminalization. What form of decriminalization? If we're decriminalizing the loitering and the soliciting, are we going to say that people can go in the street and prostitute themselves? Are we talking about could this be my next door neighbor, or could this be done next to the school? As we have had heard the stories as well that were coming out from New Zealand, that when there was decriminalization, there was prostitution taking place next to schools. So it's very unclear what effectively is being proposed. We feel that it was a very rushed, so much so that, I mean, up until January, kind of, and from March we had nothing, and now suddenly, we have been informed that there was the committee that had formulated a proposal that will be taken up to cabinet, but we are not, we don't know effectively what and how. You mentioned studies. We don't have any studies, and that's another thing that we question. Has there been a mapping? Do we have an understanding? Is this proposal being done because this is what, from the research or from the study on our Maltese local scenario, would be in the best interest of our, local situation? What we are aware of as well is that people and advocates and experts that have been working alongside women, and here I will highlight women because for the majority it is women that are in prostitution and girls, have not been consulted at all at any point in time. We are very disappointed to see that there was no talk about human trafficking. I mean, we are aware that there are two separate technical committees, which for us go very much hand in hand. We cannot talk about reforming prostitution unless we talk about trafficking. I mean, if, again, as is being proposed, I mean, we know that the impact is going to be huge on when coming to trafficking for sexual exploitation. So, they have to go hand in hand, and by separating the two, we feel that this is going to create literally a case scenario where it's free for all, basically.